Alright gamers, welcome back. World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore Ironman Adventures episode 106. Let's jump back to the world, shall we? It's about the same time as last night that we're getting on, 9 p.m. Can't seem to get on any earlier than that. I'm just too busy doing other things. Talking to my friends in Discord. I get distracted. You know how it is. Either way, we should get a solid hour and a half tonight before I have to get off, so... little time to game. I want to jump right into it, not waste any time though. We need to head back to the hinterlands. But there was something else I wanted to do before that. Oh, we're going to the Undercity, that's right. We're going to try and sneak into Scarlet Monastery Library, I believe, is where we need to go to find that book. I probably should have done some research on it, but I guess I can do it while we're in transit. I'll wait till we hit the Zeppelin. We're gonna have some time anyways. And since we're heading over to the Eastern Kingdoms, I should try and get rid of as many quests as I can. And by get rid of, I mean just turn in, finish. So let's see. Obviously, we'll sneak into Scarlet Monastery Library. We'll run into the Undercity and talk to Apothecary Zinj. We'll head to the hinterlands. We'll grab the Violet Tragon, the mushroom. We'll finish Cortello's riddle. We'll take a flight from there down to... I actually don't think we're going to go to the Burning Steps just yet, but we'll catch a flight. Maybe I should go do Trollbane. Yeah, I think we'll do Trollbane tonight. Go ahead and just finish this out. I think there's 2 quests after this. I think it's this and then 1 other quest, so... and then, of course, we still have Princess, but this quest is just... I'm still not even sure if I'm going to do it at 60. I don't know. It's a very difficult elite quest. I could probably Zerg down if I popped, like, all my cooldowns and used, like, a potion, target dummy, everything. I'll give it a chance in the future. I don't know when, but... it's probably going to require all my cooldowns. Alright, well, we'll do some research while we're waiting. 56 Rogue and a 34 Orc Shaman. Alright, Test of Lore. Right? Let me look this one up. Test of Lore, WoW Classic. Let's read the comments here. So I think it's in the library? Get Test of Lore, go to Scarlet Monastery, go to the most right door from the stairs, library, go through the portal, now fight your way through the first hall. At the end of the first hall, you will encounter a square sword off. What the hell is this guy talking about? In this square, there's rangers with hyenas and dogs. Go through this square at the other side of the hall, yep. Seems kind of convoluted. Well, that guy's not solo self-found. Rune of the Guard Captain, where do you get that from? Rune of the Guard Captain, WoW Classic. Oh, it's a quest in Reventusk. I think these are the elite trolls out here in Reventusk. Yeah, seems like it. Hello, buddy. Just give my cat some love. Alright, yeah, I think we go into the library. I'll find it on my own in there. I'm just going to sneak through most of the instance and then run out and head back to the Undercity. Then from the Undercity, we'll head to the Hinterlands. From the Hinterlands, we'll head to the Arathi Highlands. We'll finish the Trollbane quest. We'll head back down to Booty Bay. I might spend some time in Booty Bay trying to finish those quests as well, mostly Heart of Mach and Mind's Eye / Mori's Key. I might go take a look at the Monogrammed Sash. Got a lot to do. Playing catch up on some things tonight. And remember, our hearth is all the way back in Gadgetzan, so when we're done, we'll hearth back to Gadgetzan, and then probably tomorrow finish up the bits that are here, like March to the Silithid. We have to escort OOX-17, another of Oglethorpe's homing robots. We need to meet with Marvin Rivet Seeker. And away we go. Let's pop down. Mount up. Man, it's been a long time since we've been in Tirisfal Glades. Outside of just passing through and or when we came back and bought our skeletal steed bow. We love bow. Honestly, it was so hot today, but got the AC on low and I'm already committed to the session, so I threw a little jacket on. I'm gonna zip this thing up, though it's cold in here now. It's nice. I got this jacket when I visited Norway. Such a nice jacket, man. It's like, it's not super big and bulky. It's like a nice, what's the word? Nice, like, concise jacket, but man, does it warm you up. It's like my favorite jacket. But yeah, during the day, it's been like 100 degrees where I live, down in the southeast. But then come night, you know, I got the AC low. Night comes around. I've got the fan going. Gets a little chilly. But you don't want it to be hot. Then it gets all stuffy. It's hard to breathe. Ugh. I'll be starting my new job in 4 days. I've got the weekend coming up, and then next Monday I'll be starting, so I'm going to have a ton of fun with the heat then. I'm trying to enjoy the AC while I have it. But I'm really excited to get back to just a nice job that I'm excited to do. I've been out of full-time work for the last year while I went to school, just doing part-time work. And I've been used to full-time work for the last, like, 7-8 years of my life, doing heavy equipment operations, so that sense of fulfillment it's going to be nice to have that again. And just making really good money, having good benefits. Okay, so I think we're in the right place. Now, even though that we're like 20 levels over these mobs, I need to be careful. Okay, this is the right area. This is the courtyard full of hyena. Nice and sneaky, nice and sneaky. I would like to get that, but I already know if I open it, I'm going to aggro all three of them. And I'm assuming wherever this book is, I'm probably going to have to deal with some NPCs. Egwin and the Dragon Hunt. This is the book. Fuck. Shh. I don't know. Oh. Oh, I can read this in stealth too. That's sick. How many pages? 8? Okay. As the politics and rivalries of the 7 human nations waxed and waned, the line of guardians kept its constant vigil against chaos. There were many guardians over the years, but only one ever held the magical power of Tirisfal at any given time. One of the last guardians of the age distinguished herself as a mighty warrior against the shadow. Egwin, a fiery human girl, won the approbation of the Order and was given the mantle of guardianship. Egwin vigorously worked to hunt down and eradicate demons wherever she found them, but she often questioned the authority of the male-dominated Council of Tirisfal. She believed that the ancient elves and the elderly men who pressed over the council were too rigid in their thinking and not far-sighted enough to put a decisive end to the conflict against chaos. Impatient with lengthy discussions and debates, she yearned to prove herself worthy to her peers and superiors, and as a result frequently chose valor over wisdom in crucial situations. As her mastery over the cosmic power of Tirisfal grew, Egwin became aware of a number of powerful demons that stalked the icy northern continent of Northrend. Traveling to the distant north, Egwin tracked the demons into the mountains. There she found that the demons were hunting one of the last surviving dragonflights and draining the ancient creature of their innate magic. The mighty dragons who had fled from the ever-advancing march of mortal societies found themselves too evenly matched against the dark magics of the Legion. Egwin confronted the demons and, with help from the noble dragons, eradicated them. Yet, as the last demon was banished from the mortal world, a great storm erupted throughout the north. An enormous dark visage appeared in the sky above Northrend. Sargeras, the demon king and lord of the Burning Legion, appeared before Egwin and bristled with hellish energy. He informed the young guardian that the time of Tirisfal was about to come to an end, and that the world would soon bow before the onslaught of the Legion. The proud Egwin, believing herself to be a match for the menacing god, unleashed her powers against Sargeras' avatar with disconcerting ease. Egwin battered the demon lord with her powers and succeeded in killing his physical shell. Fearing that Sargeras' spirit would linger on, Egwin locked the ruined husk of his body within one of the ancient halls of Kalimdor that had been blasted to the bottom of the sea when the Well of Eternity collapsed. Egwin would never know that she had done exactly as Sargeras had planned. She had inadvertently sealed the fate of the mortal world, for Sargeras, at the time of his corporeal death, had transferred his spirit into Egwin's weakened body. Unbeknownst to the young guardian, Sargeras would remain cloaked within the darkest recesses of her soul for many long years. Wow. So Sargeras basically tricked her into defeating him and basically planted his spirit inside of her. Planted? Crazy words to say, but hey, it's in the book. Are there any other books in here that I can read? War of the Three Hammers. We've read this one before. And this was a long one, but yeah. We've read that one before. It goes over the history of the Dark Iron Dwarves, the... what were they called? The dwarves that reside in the hinterlands. Not the Grim Batol. Let me go back and look at the book. Surely there's other books in here that I can read too. Aftermath of the Second War. I think that's a new book. I mean, we are in Scarlet Monastery Library. I imagine that there's a lot of books in here. So yeah, this goes over... That's it, the Wildhammer clan. The Wildhammer clan, the Defenders of Ironforge, and the Dark Iron Dwarves. The Bronzebeard clan, that's what they're called. The clan that currently resides inside of Ironforge. Bunch of paintings. I'm going to come back for that book. I just want to see what other books are in here. War of the Spider. There's a lot of books in here, huh? Erethdor and the Troll Wars. Pretty sure we've read this one. Actually, maybe we haven't. Yeah, we have a couple books to read in here. Ooh, the World Tree and the Emerald Dream. The War of the Ancients? Dude, there's so many books in here. And there's so many pages. This might just be a lore episode. Beyond the Dark Portal, that's a new book too. The Scourge of Lordaeron, we've read that one. I remember that one. I know that we've read that one. Any books in the final room too? Kel'Thuzad and the Forming of the Scourge. Icecrown and the Frozen Throne. Oh my god, there's like 9 different books in here. Civil War in the Plague Lands. That's a new book we haven't read. Oh man, there's so many books. Well, maybe we won't read them all, but well, I guess we should. It would be a lot of reading, but it'll save me having to come back in here if I just read them all now, so maybe it's going to be a lore episode. Mostly just a lot of reading. Although my jaw is hurting already from the little bit of reading that we've already done, and some of these books are like 15 pages long. Ooh. Alright, well, I've got fresh water. Let's buckle up. Get through as many of these as I can. Aftermath of the Second War. Let's have a seat. The devastating Second War against the Orcish horde left the Alliance of Lordaeron in a state of shock and disarray. The bloodthirsty orcs, led by the mighty war chief Orgrim Doomhammer, not only smashed their way through the dwarf-held lands of Khaz-Modan, but had razed many of Lordaeron's central provinces, as well as the unrelenting orcs even succeeded in ravaging the elves' remote kingdom of Quel'Thalas before their rampage was finally stopped. So the orcs originally rampaged Quel'Thalas, and then Arthas came along and basically wiped it out completely. The Alliance armies led by Sir Anduin Lothar, Uther the Lightbringer, and Admiral Dalen Proudmoore pushed the orcs south into the shattered land of Azeroth, the first kingdom to fall before the orcs' ruthless onslaught. The Alliance forces under Sir Lothar managed to push Doomhammer's clans out of Lordaeron and back into the orc-controlled lands of Azeroth. Lothar's forces surrounded the orcs' volcanic citadel of Blackrock Spire and laid siege to their defenses. In the last-ditch effort, Doomhammer and his lieutenants staged a daring charge from the spire and clashed with Lothar's paladins in the center of the burning steppes. Doomhammer and Lothar squared off in a titanic battle that left both mighty combatants battered and drained. Though Doomhammer narrowly succeeded in vanquishing Lothar, the great hero's death did not have the effect the war chief had hoped for. Duralian, Lothar's most trusted lieutenant, took up Lothar's blood-stained shield and rallied his grief-stricken brethren for a vicious counterattack. Under the ragged standards of both Lordaeron and Azeroth, Duralian's troops slaughtered the bulk of Doomhammer's remaining forces in a glorious but terrible rout. There was nothing left for the ragged, scattered Orc survivors but to flee to the last stand bastions of Orcish power, the Dark Portal. Duralian and his warriors chased the remaining Orcs through the festering swamps of sorrow and into the corrupted blasted lands where the Dark Portal stood. There, at the foot of the colossal portal, the broken horde and the rugged alliance clashed in what would be the last, bloodiest battle of the Second War. Outnumbered and driven mad by the curse of their bloodlust, the Orcs inevitably fell before the wrath of the Alliance. Doomhammer was taken prisoner and escorted to Lordaeron, while his broken clans were rounded up and hauled north back to Lordaeron. Damn. So that's how Doomhammer was initially caught and inevitably became a slave. Really, really interesting. Okay. War of the Spider. The world is a vampire. Alright, sit here. How many pages is this one? Only 5, okay. Some of these books aren't too bad. While Thrall was liberating his brethren in Lordaeron, Ner'zhul continued to build up his power base in Northrend. A great citadel was erected above the ice-crowned glacier and manned by the growing legions of the dead. Yet as the Lich King extended his influence over the land, one shadowy empire stood against his power. The ancient subterranean kingdom of Azjol-Nerub, which had been founded by a race of sinister humanoid spiders, sent their elite warrior guard to attack Icecrown and end the Lich King's mad bid for dominance. Much to his frustration, Ner'zhul found that the evil Nerubians were immune, not only to the plague, but to his telepathic domination as well. Excuse me. The Nerubian Spider Lords commanded vast forces and had an underground network that stretched nearly half the breadth of Northrend. Their hit-and-run tactics on the Lich King's strongholds stemmed his efforts to root them out time after time. Ultimately, Ner'zhul's war against the Nerubians was won by attrition. With the aid of the sinister Dreadlords and innumerable undead warriors, the Lich King invaded Azjol-Nerub and brought its subterranean temples crashing down upon the Spider Lords' heads. Though the Nerubians were immune to his plague, Ner'zhul's growing necromantic powers allowed him to raise the Spider Warriors' corpses and bend them to his will. As a testament to their tenacity and fearlessness, Ner'zhul adopted the Nerubians' distinctive architectural style for his own fortresses and structures. Left to rule his kingdoms unopposed, the Lich King began preparing for his true mission in the world. Reaching out into the human lands with his vast consciousness, the Lich King called out to any dark soul that would listen. It's cool to think that if you were playing Classic WoW, like back in 2004, 2005, and you actually took the time to read these books and understand what other threats were out there, you would kind of have an idea for, like, you know, Northrend is coming, there's another race, the Azjol-Nerub. When you see them, there's like that much added value to like knowing who they are and what they wanted. Well, sitting here... Ah, shit. Okay, vanish. Okay, don't sit. And now I need to be very careful. I should probably just chill until vanish comes off cooldown, so... Whoa, whoa. There you go. How about that, boys? Alright, well, I guess we can read while we're waiting for Vanish to come off cooldown. But if I just sit like this, I'm still in stealth. As the High Elves fought for their lives against the Trolls' fierce onslaught, As the High Elves fought for their lives against the Trolls' fierce onslaught, the scattered nomadic humans of Lordaeron fought to consolidate their own tribal lands. The tribes of early humanity raided each other's settlements with little heed for racial unification or honor. Yet one tribe, known as the Arathi, saw that the Trolls were becoming too great a threat to ignore. The Arathi, I hope this ties into Trollkalar, is that the name of the sword? And like the Trollbane and stuff. Yet one tribe, known as the Arathi, saw that the trolls were becoming too great a threat to ignore. The Arathi wished to bring all the tribes under its rule so that they could provide a unified front against the troll warbands. Over the course of 6 years, the cunning Arathi outmaneuvered and outfought the rival tribes. After every victory, the Arathi offered peace and equality to the conquered people. Thus, they won the loyalty of those they had beaten. Eventually, the Arathi tribe came to include many disparate tribes, and the ranks of its army grew. So this is actually the Arathi, not the Arathi Highlands, but the Arathi trolls, right? No. This is about... Yeah, this is about the Arathi tribes of humans, yeah. The tribes of early humanity raided each other's settlements. Yeah, so this is the Arathi tribe early, and what we thought, like Stromgarde Keep and the Arathi kingdom that fell eventually. Confident that they could hold their own against the troll warbands, or even the reclusive elves if need be, the Arathi warlords decided to construct a mighty fortress city in the southern regions of Lordaeron. The city-state named Strom. It is! Okay. The city-state named Strom became the capital of the Arathi nation. Erethdor. As Erethdor prospered, humans from all over the vast continent traveled south to the protection and safety of Strom. United under one banner, the human tribes developed a strong, optimistic culture. Thoradin, the king of Erethdor, knew that the mysterious elves in the northern lands were under constant siege by the trolls, but refused to risk the safety of his people in defense of reclusive strangers. Many months passed as rumors of the elves' supposed defeat trickled down from the north. It was only when weary ambassadors from Quel'Thalas reached Strom that Thoradin realized how great the troll threat truly was. The elves informed Thoradin that the troll armies were vast, and that once the trolls had destroyed Quel'Thalas... Sorry, my cat started crying. Once the trolls had destroyed Quel'Thalas, they would move on to attack the Southlands. The desperate elves, in dire need of military aid, hastily agreed to teach certain select humans to wield magic in exchange for their help against the warbands. So this is how humans become mages and probably warlocks and whatnot. Thoradin, distrustful of any magic, agreed to aid the elves out of necessity. Almost immediately, elven sorcerers arrived in Erethdor and began to instruct a group of humans in the ways of magic. The elves found that although humans were innately clumsy in their handling of magic, they possessed a startling natural affinity for it. 100 men were taught the very basics of the elven magic secrets, no more than was absolutely necessary to combat the trolls. Convinced that their human students were ready to aid in the struggle, the elves left Strom and traveled north alongside the mighty army of King Thoradin. The united elf and human armies clashed against the overwhelming troll warbands at the foot of the Alterac Mountains. The battle lasted for many days, but the unflagging armies of Erethdor never tired or gave an inch of ground before the troll onslaught. The elven lords deemed that the time had come to release the powers of their magic upon the enemy. The 100 human magi and a multitude of elven sorcerers called down the fury of the heavens and set the troll armies ablaze. The elemental fires prevented the trolls from regenerating their wounds and burned their tortured forms from the inside out. As the troll armies broke and attempted to flee, Thoradin's armies ran them down and slaughtered every last one of their soldiers. The trolls would never fully recover from their defeat, and history would never see the trolls rise as one nation again. Assured that Quel'Thalas was saved from destruction, the elves made a pledge of loyalty and friendship to the nation of Erethdor and to the bloodline of its king, Thoradin. Humans and elves would nurture peaceful relations for ages to come. So that's interesting that eventually the Blood Elves, aka the High Elves, choose to side with the Horde and give up their loyalties to humans, but really it was more to the kingdom of Erethdor and Thoradin himself. It's really interesting. Also, me still like sneaking and stealthing through this library has me feeling like Harry Potter, where I'm just like in the restricted section of the library reading things I shouldn't be reading with my invisibility cloak. Okay, how many pages do we have here? 8. That's not too bad. The World Tree and the Emerald Dream. For many years, the Night Elves worked tirelessly to rebuild what they could of their ancient homeland, leaving their broken temples and roads to be overgrown. They constructed their new homes amidst the verdant trees and shadowed hills at Higgjaw's base. In time, the dragons that had survived the Great Sundering came forth from their secret abodes. Alexstrasza the Red, Ysera the Green, and Nosdormu the Bronze descended upon the druids' tranquil glades and surveyed the fruits of the Night Elves' labors. Malfurion, who had become an archdruid of immense power, greeted the mighty dragons and told them about the creation of the new Well of Eternity. The great dragons were alarmed to hear that the dark news and speculated that as long as the well remained, the Legion might one day return and assault the world once again. Malfurion and the 3 dragons made a pact to keep the well safe and ensure that the agents of the Burning Legion would never find their way back into the world. Alexstrasza the Lifebinder placed a single enchanted acorn within the heart of the Well of Eternity. The acorn, activated by the potent magical waters, sprung to life as a colossal tree. The mighty tree's roots grew from the well's waters, and its verdant canopy seemed to scrape the roof of the sky. The immense tree would be an everlasting symbol of the Night Elf's bond with nature, and its life-giving energies would extend out to heal the rest of the world over time. The Night Elves gave their world tree the new name Nordrassil, which meant Crown of the Heavens in their native tongue. That's so sick. Teldrassil is one of my favorite places in the game. So I'm assuming Drasil is of the heavens. So Nordrassil is Nor probably meaning crown, Drasil of the heavens. So Teldrassil is probably like land of the heavens or tree of the heavens or something of the heavens. That's really, really cool. Nosdormu the Timeless placed an enchantment upon the World Tree to ensure that as long as the colossal tree stood, the Night Elves would never age or fall prey to sickness or disease. Ysera the Dreamer also placed an enchantment upon the World Tree by linking it to her own realm, the ethereal dimension known as the Emerald Dream. The Emerald Dream, a vast ever-changing spirit world, existed outside of the boundaries of the physical world. From the dream, Ysera regulated the ebb and flow of nature and the evolutionary path of the world itself. The Night Elf druids, including Malfurion himself, were bound to the dream through the World Tree. As part of a mystical pact, the druids agreed to sleep for centuries at a time so that their spirits could roam the infinite paths of Ysera's dreamways. Though the druids were grieved at the prospect of losing so many years of their lives to hibernation, they selflessly agreed to uphold their bargain with Ysera. That's really, really interesting. God. I love the lore in this game, man. It's crazy I've run past these books so many times in my life. How many pages do we have here? This is a big one, I think. 15. Oh, God. The War of the Ancients. Hang on 1 second. Let me text the lady back. Okay. The Highborn's reckless use of magic sent ripples of energy spiraling out from the Well of Eternity and into the great dark beyond. The streaming ripples of energy were felt by terrible alien minds. Sargeras, the great enemy of all life, the destroyer of worlds, felt the potent ripples and was drawn to their distant point of origin. So that's how Sargeras found out where our Azeroth was, right? Our world is the Highborns. They recklessly used magic too much and sent energy waves out into the cosmos, where he felt them. Spying the primordial world of Azeroth and sensing the limitless energies of the Well of Eternity, Sargeras was consumed by an insatiable hunger. The great dark god of the nameless void resolved to destroy the fledgling world and claim its energies as his own. Sargeras gathered his vast burning legion and made his way towards the unsuspecting world of Azeroth. The legion was compromised of 1,000,000 screaming demons, all ripped from the far corners of the universe, and the demons hungered for conquest. Sargeras' lieutenants, Archimon the Defiler and Manaroth the Destructor, prepared their infernal minions to strike. Queen Ashara, overwhelmed by the terrible ecstasy of her magic, fell victim to Sargeras' undeniable power and agreed to grant him entrance to her world. Even her highborn servitors gave themselves over to magic's inevitable corruption and began to worship Sargeras as their god. To show their allegiance to the Legion, the Highborn aided their queen in opening a vast, swirling portal within the depths of the Well of Eternity. Oh shit, the Maelstrom. Once all his preparations had been made, Sargeras began his catastrophic invasion of Azeroth. The warrior demons of the Burning Legion stormed into the world through the Well of Eternity and laid siege to the Night Elves' sleeping cities. Led by Archimon and Manaroth, the Legion swarmed over the lands of Kalimdor, leaving only ash and sorrow in its wake. The demon warlocks called down searing infernals that crashed like hellish meteors into the graceful spires of Kalimdor's temples. A band of burning, bloodletting killers known as the Doom Guard marched across Kalimdor's fields, slaughtering everyone in their path. Packs of wild, demonic fellhounds ravaged the countryside unopposed. Though the brave Kaldori warriors rushed to defend their ancient homeland, they were forced to give ground, inch by inch, before the fury of the Legion's onslaught. It fell to Malfurion's Stormrage to find help for his beleaguered people. Stormrage, whose own brother Illidan practiced the Highborn's magics, was incensed by the growing corruption amongst the upper class. Sorry, some of these words are not my everyday lingo, so it's like it's a little. Convinced Illidan to forsake. Practiced by Highborn's magic, was incensed by the growing corruption amongst the upper class. Convincing Illidan to forsake his dangerous obsession, Malfurion sent out to find Cenarius and muster a resistance force. The beautiful young priestess Durande agreed to accompany the brothers in the name of Elune. Though Malfurion and Illidan shared a love for this idealistic priestess, Durande's heart belonged to Malfurion alone. Illidan resented his brother's budding romance with Durande, but knew that his heartache was nothing compared to the pain of his magical addiction. Illidan, who had grown dependent on magic's empowering energies, struggled to keep control of his nearly overwhelming hunger to tap the well's energies once again. However, with Durande's patient support, he was able to restrain himself and help his brother find the reclusive demigod, Cenarius. Cenarius, who dwelt within the sacred moonglades of the distant Mount Hyjal, agreed to help the Night Elves by finding the ancient dragons and enlisting their aid. The dragons, led by the great red Leviathan, Alexstrasza, agreed to send their mighty flights to engage the demons and their infernal masters. Cenarius, calling on the spirits of the enchanted forest, rallied an army of ancient tree men and led them against the Legion in a daring ground assault. As the Night Elf's allies converged upon Ashara's temples and the Well of Eternity, all-out warfare erupted. Despite the strength of their newfound allies, Malfurion and his colleagues realized that the Legion could not be defeated by martial strength alone. As the titanic battle raged around Ashara's capital city, so all this happened in Ashara, which explains why it's just a wasteland now. That's really cool. Excuse me. The delusional queen waited in anticipation for Sargeras' arrival. This is also Queen Ashara that we're talking about, so this was her kingdom, her elven kingdom that she openly invited Sargeras into. The Lord of the Legion was preparing to pass through the Well of Eternity and enter the ravaged world. As his impossibly huge shadow drew ever closer to the well's surface, Ashara gathered the most powerful of her highborn followers. Only by linking their magics together in one focused spell would they be able to create a gateway large enough for Sargeras to enter. As the battle raged across the burning fields of Kalimdor, a terrible turn of events unfolded. The details of the events have been lost to time, but it is known that Neltharion, the dragon aspect of the earth, went mad during a critical engagement against the Burning Legion. So this is Deathwing. He began to split apart as flame and rage erupted from his dark hide. Renaming himself Deathwing, the burning dragon turned on his brethren and drove the 5 dragonflights from the field of battle. So it sounds like Sargeras' influence had kind of corrupted Neltharion. Deathwing's sudden betrayal was so destructive that the 5 dragonflights never truly recovered. Wounded and shocked, Alexstrasza and the other noble dragons were forced to abandon their mortal allies. Malfurion and his companions, now hopelessly outnumbered, barely survived the ensuing onslaught. Malfurion, convinced that the Well of Eternity was the demon's umbilical link to the physical world, insisted that it should be destroyed. His companions, knowing that the well was the source of their immortality and powers, were horrified by the rash notion. Yet Tyrande saw the wisdom of Malfurion's theories, so she convinced Cenarius and their comrades to storm Ashara's temple and find a way to shut down the well for good. Wow. God, I'm actually so glad we came here. Beyond the Dark Portal, this one's only 4 pages, not bad. Only a few months after Nithergard's completion, the energies of the Dark Portal coalesced and opened up a new gateway to Draenor. The remaining Orc clans, under the leadership of the elder shaman Ner'zhul, charged forth into Azeroth once again. Intent on stealing a number of magical artifacts that would increase Ner'zhul's powers, the Orcs planned to open up new portals in Draenor that would allow them to escape their doomed Red World forever. Convinced that Ner'zhul was planning a new offense against the Alliance, King Tyrannus of Lordaeron sent his armies into Draenor to end the Orcish threat once and for all. Led by Khadgar and General Turalyon, the Alliance forces clashed with the Orcs across the burning landscape. Even with the aid of the Elven Ranger Illyria, who is now Sylvanas, or am I wrong about that? I think I actually might be wrong about that. Even with the aid of the Elven Ranger Illyria, the dwarf Kurdrin, and the veteran soldier Danath, Khadgar was unable to prevent Ner'zhul from opening his portal to the other worlds. The tremendous magical storms caused by the portal's converging energies began to tear the ravaged world apart. Ner'zhul, followed only by his most trusted servants, managed to escape through one of the portals, as Khadgar fought desperately to return his comrades to Azeroth. Realizing that they would be trapped on the dying world, Khadgar and his companions selflessly decided to destroy the Dark Portal so that Azeroth would not be harmed by Draenor's violent destruction. By all accounts, the heroes were successful in destroying the portal and saving Azeroth, but whether or not they escaped the death throes of Draenor remains to be unseen. Wow. So you learn about Illyria later, but Illyria, Kurdrin, Danath, and Khadgar all basically sacrificed themselves to close the Dark Portal and save Azeroth. I know personally that Khadgar survives because he's in Wrath of the Lich King, but I also know Illyria survives, I think. I don't know at what point in WoW's history she comes back in, but I've seen her in other instances of WoW, so I think she survived as well, so maybe they all survived. The Scourge of Lordaeron, we read that one. Not too many books left here. This is going to be just a complete reading episode, and I'm here for it. I think we have 1 book left over here, maybe? No, just a couple books in this room. I'm going to see if I can open this chest without alerting them, though. Nope. I thought it would alert them, yeah. Alright, Ice Crown and the Frozen Throne. 6 pages, not too bad. Kil'jaeden cast Ner'zhul's icy cask back into the world of Azeroth. I need to be careful while Vanish is off cooldown. The hardened crystal streaked across the night sky and smashed into the desolate Arctic continent of Northrend, burying itself deep within the ice-crowned glacier. The frozen crystal, warped and scarred by its violent descent, came to resemble a throne, and Ner'zhul's vengeful spirit soon stirred within it. So Kil'jaeden summoned Ner'zhul's spirit back into the world of Azeroth, and it came striking down through the sky in a ice throne, so to speak, which is what we see Arthas sitting on at the peak of Icecrown Citadel. From the confines of the Frozen Throne, Ner'zhul began to reach out his vast consciousness and touch the minds of Northrend's native inhabitants. With little effort, he enslaved the minds of many indigenous creatures, including ice trolls and fierce wendigos, and he grew and drew their evil brethren into his growing shadow. His psychic powers proved to be almost limitless, and he used them to create a small army that he housed within Icecrown's twisting labyrinths. As the Lich King mastered his growing abilities under the Dreadlord's persistent vigil, he discovered a remote human settlement on the fringe of the vast Dragonblight. On a whim, Ner'zhul decided to test his powers on the unsuspecting humans. Ner'zhul cast a plague of undeath, which had originated from deep within the frozen temple, out into the Arctic wasteland. Controlling the plague with his will alone, he drove it straight into the human village. Within 3 days, everyone in the settlement was dead, but shortly thereafter, the dead villagers began to rise as zombified corpses. Ner'zhul could feel their individual spirits and thoughts as if they were his own. That's crazy. The raging cacophony in his mind caused Ner'zhul to grow even more powerful, as if their spirits provided him with much-needed nourishment. He found it was child's play to control the zombies' actions and steer them to whatever end he wished. Over the following months, Ner'zhul continued to experiment with his plague of undeath by subjugating every human inhabitant of Northrend. With his armies of undead growing daily, he knew that the time for his true test was nearing. Kel'Thuzad and the Forming of the Scourge. How many pages do we have here? Whew, that's a big one. What do we have over here? Any more books over here? Or is this the last book? Civil War in the Plaguelands. Let's read this one first, and then we'll finish with the Forming of the Scourge. This one's only 4, so this one's a little shorter. Ner'zhul, the Lich King, knew that his time was short. Imprisoned within the Frozen Throne, he suspected that Kil'jaeden would send his agents to destroy him. The damage caused by Illidan's spell had ruptured the Frozen Throne, thus the Lich King was losing his power daily. Desperate to save himself, he called his greatest mortal servant to his side, the Death Knight Prince Arthas. Though his powers were drained by the Lich King's weakness, Arthas had been involved in a civil war in Lordaeron. Half of the standing undead forces, led by the banshee Sylvanas Windrunner, staged a coup for control over the undead empire. Arthas, called by the Lich King, was forced to leave the Scourge in the hands of the lieutenant, Kel'Thuzad, as the war escalated throughout the Plaguelands. Ultimately, Sylvanas and her rebel undead, known as the Forsaken, claimed the ruined capital city of Lordaeron as their own, constructing their own bastion beneath the wrecked city. The Forsaken vowed to defeat the Scourge and drive Kel'Thuzad and his minions from the land. Weakened, but determined to save his master, Arthas reached Northrend, only to find Illidan's Naga and Blood Elves waiting for him. He and his Nerubian alliances raced against Illidan's forces to reach the Ice-Crowned Glacier and defend the Frozen Throne. We see that later, Illidan and Arthas kind of fighting over the throne. Alright, the chunker, the big one, the final book. There were a handful of powerful individuals scattered throughout the world who heard the Lich King's mental summons from Northrend. Most notable of them was the Archmage of Dalaran, Kel'Thuzad, who was one senior member of the Kirin Tor, Dalaran's ruling council. He'd been considered a maverick for years due to his insistence of studying the forbidden arts of necromancy. Driven to learn all he could of the magical world and its shadowy wonders, he was frustrated by what he saw as his peers outmoded and unimaginative percepts. Upon hearing the powerful summons from Northrend, the Archmage bent all of his considerable will to communing with the mysterious voice. Convinced that the Kirin Tor was too squeamish to seize the power and knowledge inherited in the Dark Ages, he resigned himself to learn what he could from the immensely powerful Lich King. Leaving behind his fortune and prestigious political standing, Kel'Thuzad abandoned the ways of the Kirin Tor and left Dalaran forever. Prodded by the Lich King's persistent voice in his mind, he sold his vast holdings and stored away his fortunes. Traveling alone over many leagues of both land and sea, he finally reached the frozen shores of Northrend. So this is back when Dalaran was stationed in the Hillsbrad foothills, before it's moved to Northrend itself. So he literally crossed a massive ocean to get to Northrend, where this voice was just constantly pulling him. Intent on reaching Icecrown and offering his services to the Lich King, the Archmage passed through the ravaged, war-torn ruins of Azjol Nerub. Kel'Thuzad saw firsthand the scope and ferocity of Ner'zhul's power. He began to realize that allying himself with the mysterious Lich King might be both wise and potentially fruitful. After long months of trekking through the harsh Arctic wastelands, Kel'Thuzad finally reached the dark glacier of Icecrown. He boldly approached Ner'zhul's dark citadel and was shocked when the undead guardsmen silently let him pass, as though he was expected. Kel'Thuzad descended deep into the cold earth and found his way down to the bottom of the glacier. There, in the endless cavern of ice and shadows, he prostrated himself before the frozen throne and offered his soul to the Dark Lord of the Dead. The Lich King was pleased with his latest conscript. He promised Kel'Thuzad immortality and great power in exchange for his loyalty and obedience. Eager for dark knowledge and power, Kel'Thuzad accepted his first great mission, to go into the world of men and found a new religion that would worship the Lich King as a god. To help the Archmage accomplish his mission, Ner'zhul left Kel'Thuzad's humanity intact. The aged yet still charismatic wizard was charged with using his power of illusion and persuasion to lull the downtrodden, disenfranchised masses of Lordaeron into a state of trust and belief. Then, once he had their attention, he would offer them a new vision of what society could be, and a new figurehead to call their king. Kel'Thuzad returned to Lordaeron in disguise, and over the span of 3 years, he used his fortune and intellect to gather a clandestine brotherhood of like-minded men and women. The brotherhood, which he called the Cult of the Damned, promised its acolytes social equality and eternal life on Azeroth in exchange for their services and obedience to Ner'zhul. As months passed, Kel'Thuzad found many eager volunteers for his new cult amongst the tired, overburdened laborers of Lordaeron. It was surprisingly easy for Kel'Thuzad to achieve his goal, namely, to transfer the citizens' faith in the holy light into belief in Ner'zhul's dark shadow. As the Cult of the Damned grew in size and influence, Kel'Thuzad made sure to hide his works from the authorities of Lordaeron. With Kel'Thuzad's success in Lordaeron, the Lich King made the final preparations for his assault against human civilization, placing his plague energies into a number of portable artifacts called plague cauldrons. Ner'zhul ordered Kel'Thuzad to transport the cauldrons to Lordaeron, where they would be hidden within various cult-controlled villages. The cauldrons, protected by loyal cultists, would then act as plague generators, sending the plague seeping out across the unsuspected farmlands and cities of Northern Lordaeron. God. So this is how the plague is actually spread. Kel'Thuzad comes, spreads word of this new religion, a bunch of people get interested, then eventually they set up these plague cauldrons all around northern Lordaeron, and on Ner'zhul's command, he releases this plague that's so Crazy. The Lich King's plan worked perfectly. Many of Lordaeron's northern villages were committed almost immediately, just as in Northrend. The citizens who contracted the plague died and arose as the Lich King's willing slaves. The cultists under Kel'Thuzad were eager to die and be raised again in their Dark Lord's service. They exulted in their prospects of immortality through undeath. As the plague spread, more and more feral zombies arose in the Northlands. Kel'Thuzad looked upon the Lich King's growing army and named it the Scourge, for soon it would march across upon the gates of Lordaeron and scour humanity from the face of the world. Damn. Alright, that is all the lore inside the library. And what a hell of an episode it's been. It was literally an hour of reading, basically. I think we'll finish up the night by getting to the Hinterlands and probably rest in Reventusk Village, I imagine. There's no way. Let's keep our eyes on the prize until we get out of here. Then tomorrow I'll read this book, because that's 14 pages. That's a lot. Now, I read this on a recording from a Wowhead page, but I also want to read it in-game with you guys and actually piece together all this lore. We gained a lot of knowledge and information tonight as far as like past events and things that have transpired through the past, and Kel'Thuzad and Ner'zhul, him becoming the Lich King, and Sargeras's initial invasion on Kalimdor, the Second War, how that ended, how Doomhammer was captured, like so many things that I actually didn't know. Because I know basic lore, but I don't know a lot of the nitty-gritty details, but this was really, really cool to learn. Alright, so for tonight, we'll head into the Undercity. We'll talk to Apothecary Zinged. We'll take a flight to Hillsbrad. I'll run up, probably grab the Violet Tragon, finish Cortello's Riddle, and then we'll probably rest at Reventusk Village for the night. So basically completely a lore episode. This episode, we just did nothing but break into Scarlet Monastery Library, read all of the knowledge that they had, and got out. But for me, this was a sick episode. I really, really enjoyed this one. The world is a vampire. Crazy. Bodies just hung from trees. We're not going to turn this quest in, though, tonight. Well, you know what? Maybe we won't go to, yeah, you know what? We're not going to go to the Hinterlands tonight. I'll do this tomorrow. I'm just going to run into the Undercity. We'll read this final book. Just get all the reading out of the way tonight. One last book. It's long, but it's, I can get through that. And then we'll be done with reading. I'll turn both of these in, and then we'll rest at the Undercity. And then tomorrow we'll fly to the Hinterlands, grab the mushroom, finish Cortello's Riddle, fly down to the Arathi Highlands, finish up this quest chain finally. It was really cool to learn about the Kingdom of Strom through those books too, and how the High Elves eventually came down seeking their help. King Arathor, all that jazz. Actually, don't know that one.
Skin, glorious skin. It holds you.
Shalene, you gotta chill. That's weird. Glorious skin. Lordaeron is so cool, man. It's probably a hell of a sight back when it was an actual, like, thriving human city. This was probably a statue of the king, I imagine. They had a moat and everything, too. Oh, man. I forgot it's the summer festival. I was like, what the hell is this? Here lies King Tyrannus Menethil II. Arthas cut him down. Alright. Let me just get right outside of Parkwall Fentalis, and we'll read this book and be done with it. The undead's beginnings upon Azeroth did not truly begin with the corruption of Prince Arthas. It began long before that event. The events that brought the downfall of Lordaeron were long set in motion before that point. It began with the coming of the Orcish clans and the Burning Legion. The Orcs of Draenor, the world which they originally came from, were noble and shamanistic. They were powerful warriors, strong of body and will. It was for these reasons that the Burning Legion sought them out. Kil'jaeden, a demon of great power among the Legion, wished to enslave the Orcish clans and use them as his army against the worlds the Burning Legion had yet to conquer. Kil'jaeden came to the leader of the clans, a powerful shaman named Ner'zhul. He promised Ner'zhul untold mystical power and knowledge if he made a pact with the demon that would enslave the clans to the Burning Legion. This pact sealed not only their fate, but that of their world forever. So this is how Ner'zhul comes into power. He makes a deal with Kil'jaeden, officer and lieutenant of Sargeras. And that's how Ner'zhul has his powers of death, becomes the Lich King, the first Lich King. It all connects. As time passed, Ner'zhul realized that the fate of the clans at the hands of the Burning Legion and the Orc shamans began to defy Kil'jaeden. The demon, angered by Ner'zhul, turned to the shaman's own apprentice, Gul'dan, who was far more corruptible than Ner'zhul. It was Gul'dan who was responsible for the decline of shamanism throughout the clans. The promise of power and control over one's enemies made his offers even more tempting. With Kil'jaeden's help, Gul'dan began his manipulation of the clans. The Orcs, once noble, became corrupt, mindless savages. With the introduction of demon blood into their bodies, the Orcs were even more ruthless and barbaric. Even though Kil'jaeden had corrupted Gul'dan after his failure with Ner'zhul, Kil'jaeden hated the shaman and vowed to enforce their original pact. Kil'jaeden captured Ner'zhul and began incredibly slow physical torture on the shaman, while Ner'zhul begged for death. Kil'jaeden reminded Ner'zhul that their original pact was still binding. Kil'jaeden killed the orc, but only physically. Kil'jaeden held the orc's spirit, his shaman spirit, fast before it could find its way to the twisting nether. Kil'jaeden placed Ner'zhul's spirit within a block of ice gathered from the twisting nether. While it was trapped within the ice, he infused into it even more power. The loss of his body and the introduction of such incredible power was the defining line in Ner'zhul's transformation. Oh, so actually Ner'zhul was still a good guy even though he fucked over his people. I mean, not really. He wasn't like a good guy, but he fucked over his people and then was like, this was a bad idea. Kil'jaeden said, no, well, we've already had a pact. We're bound. Kil'jaeden hurled the block of ice through dimensions back to Azeroth, where it landed in the continent of Northrend. So that's how it came crashing down, I see. Introducing this great evil to our world. Ner'zhul was gone forever, and in his place was a throne of ice and hatred. The once respected shaman leader had become the incredibly powerful Lich King. That's so sick, okay. Because Kil'jaeden did not trust the Lich King, he sent his dreadlords to watch over the spirit and ensure that the Lich King followed his orders. The vampiric servants came to Azeroth willingly, drawn to the destruction and power of the Lich King and the potential genocide of a planet's entire race. Over a decade passed. During this time, the Lich King used his vast powers to gain control over the minds of the creatures of Northrend, whom he commanded to erect a great citadel over his frozen throne. Now that all of Northrend was under his domination, the Lich King knew he needed to begin his infiltration of Lordaeron. Trapped within the ice, the former orc shaman began seeking more minds to manipulate and control. His call reached out across the continents. The Lich King's summon did not go unnoticed, especially by a small handful of powerful individuals. Among them was the Archmage Kel'Thuzad, who we just read about in Scarlet Monastery Library, who was a powerful member of the ruling body of Dalaran, the Kirin Tor. His pursuit of all types of magic violated the Kirin Tor's policies against learning dark magics. Kel'Thuzad abandoned the Kirin Tor and all his ties to conventional thoughts and vowed to learn as much as he could from the Lich King. A pact was struck between the two. Kel'Thuzad would receive immortality and immense power in return for servitude to the Lich King. Kel'Thuzad's first task was to use his wealth and influence in Lordaeron to found the Cult of the Damned. The cult promised equality and eternal life to all its members as long as they swore an oath to Ner'zhul, the god of the Cult of the Damned. Ner'zhul then created artifacts that were designed to spread the plague among the human civilizations of Lordaeron. He gave them to Kel'Thuzad and ordered the wizard to spread them across the land. His cult followers were to protect the artifacts at all costs. Once in place, the plague began to seep into the land and affect its ignorant citizens. As Kel'Thuzad watched, the Lich King's army grew quickly, and he soon gained control over large portions of the land. This army became known as the Scourge, for its sole purpose was to scour humanity from all of Azeroth.
It's always nice when someone wishes to speak to me. How are things with you, adventurer?
We got Beginnings of the Undead Threat, the book you wanted. I hope you made the Scarlet Crusade suffer some before stealing the book from them. My views of their kind are not unwarranted. The Crusade may have been followers of the light at one time, but now they seek to destroy any creatures that they have not sided with their religion. They believe all undead, forsaken or otherwise, must be cleansed, and those traveling in their lands must either be insane or subjects to the undead's powerful magics. Idiots and fools, all of them.
This is the book I sent you to search for. So now you wish a question to prove your mind is as powerful as your body and spirit. If you have studied the book long enough, then I shall ask you your question, and you can be done with these tests.
I know a lot now.
So the time is once again upon us. As a student of lore, you have shown great tenacity by undertaking my task, and so now I offer you your question. If you are ready, speak to me again, and take all the time you need, adventurer. There is no pressure to answer quickly.
Right. Now, answer me this, Bill. Which creature became the Lich King before spreading the plague across Northrend? It was Ner'zhul.
Farewell.
You have done well, Bill. Continue your search for knowledge and remember the history you have learned.
What do you require? Well done, adventurer. I had my doubts if you studied the text I asked you to get, but you've answered correctly. You have done well, adventurer. You have passed my test and the tests before mine. Return to Dorn in Thousand Needles. He will sense the change within you and see that your mind, body, and spirit are strong enough that you should be rewarded for your efforts. Stay true to the balance you've shown throughout these trials, adventurer. Dorn will test you again in the future if you do.
I think we're going to take the Windstorm Hammer and keep this in our bank as like a little piece of memorabilia. The Dancing Flame is also cool, but I can't use it, so I'd rather have the Windstorm Hammer. That was a really cool test. A quest in general. That's probably my favorite quest we've done in all of WoW. It teaches you so much about history that isn't necessarily like in the game innately. This has all happened in the past, things that have already transpired, so it's just really cool to get that knowledge. Singed. Welcome back. At least welcome back if you have returned with the sealed testing kit. Otherwise, I will pretend not to notice your utter incompetence and spare my wrath from you until you do as you have been tasked and accomplish my task.
I will analyze this data immediately. Perhaps Keever's insanity will prove to be my genius after all. As for you, you are useful to me, and I reward quite well those who remain useful. Take this item, this coin, and most importantly, my thanks along with them. Check back with me from time to time. I wager that our working together on this project is not at an end.
A gold 30 plus 65 silver from these shoulders. Hell yeah, and 4,000 experience. They look pretty cool too, but they're definitely not as good as what we have. But some more quests done from the log. We do have to take a separate trip back to Stone Talon, right? Where's Dorn? Oh, he's all the way down here in... I forgot about that. He's down here in Thousand Needles. Alright, well, let's sell these shoulders, and then let's find a casket to sleep in for the night. It's been a lore episode, boys. Hope you're into that kind of thing. If not, totally get it. Some of you don't care about the story at all, and I completely respect that. I didn't for years, but as I've gotten older, I really, really like that stuff. So it's been really cool to learn about it and learn a lot of the details of the game that I've been playing for basically my entire life. So let's find a bed. There we go. And then, like I said, tomorrow we'll head to the Hinterlands. We'll finish up some stuff in the Arathi Highlands. We'll probably head down to Stranglethorn Vale and finish up some business there. And then, hell, probably even swing back through Stonard and return to Felzerol. So, mental note, the order we're going to go tomorrow is Hinterlands, Arathi Highlands, Swamp of Sorrows, Stonard, and then Booty Bay / Stranglethorn Gromgall Basin. And then probably Hearth back to Daenerys, and from here we could fly up, talk to Dorn, we could head back over to Feralis, finish this quest, finish the business that we have in Daenerys, and then after that, I'll probably come back and start the Burning Steps or Searing Gorge. I should start Searing Gorge, actually. These are probably the next lowest level quests that we can do, so that is going to be our plan. Let's go 3 caskets in, that's my lucky number, so scoot up in the casket too a little bit. My feet are hanging out the casket. Come on now. Alright guys, we're going to call this one here for now. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace and love, and God bless gamers.